When the looting starts, the shooting starts. That's the ominous warning from the US president after another violent day of protests in America. These were the extraordinary scenes on the streets of Minneapolis today as anger deepens over the death of George Floyd, an unarmed black man at the hands of police. In one part of the city, which was overrun by protests, they stormed a local station, forcing officers to flee as it was set on fire. There are now fears the violence is spreading across America. Several other protests have erupted. Here's our North America correspondent, Catherine Diss.
For the third day in a row, Minneapolis is burning, a message of protest in words and flames. The demonstrators converged on the police precinct where the officers involved in the death of George Floyd were stationed. Soon it too was alight, and the police were forced to flee their own stronghold.
It seems that the protesters have taken over the police station and it's on fire.
National Guard troops have been called in by the state governor, with local police struggling to cope with the scale of the unrest. There had been peaceful protests earlier in the day.
We want justice.
But the anger was impossible to contain.
Oh my God.
Stores were looted and vandalised, and more fires were lit, metres away from the ruins of buildings destroyed the night before. The family of George Floyd say the police responsible for his death should be given the death penalty.
That was my oldest brother. I love him. I'm never going to get my brother back.
In a late-night tweet, the president condemned the looters, saying the military could assist, adding when the looting starts, the shooting starts. Soon after, Twitter flagged that comment as glorifying violence and hid the tweet behind a warning. The US Department of Justice says its investigation is a top priority and it's assigned experienced prosecutors to the case. The US President Donald Trump has described George Floyd's death as sad and tragic and asked authorities to expedite their investigations. The case is being handled by the same team which successfully prosecuted an officer who killed Australian woman Justine Damond-Ruzcek 3 years ago, one of the few cases where a policeman was brought to justice.
I have leading the prosecution team the two prosecutors that brought justice in the Justine Damond case.
Prosecutors say if the case is rushed, it might damage their chances of prosecution. But across the country, there's little sign of patience. In New York, there were several arrests. In Denver, shots were fired during clashes near the Capitol building, as protesters found it hard to contain their rage.
They're in a riot here, bro.
Tomorrow, authorities will try to regain control of this city, but for now, it's hard to see how order can return. Catherine Diss, ABC News, Washington.